Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cacawphony, the Crow's Nest podcast. I'm Jelo, and with me I got.
You got Jami.
Hey, I'm Helena.
And Wolf.
All right. And this week we are going over the music of RWBY, which is one of the things that has been consistently praised as being done well. So before we start off and really get into it, one of the things with it is it canon or not? For anyone that doesn't know, back for the Volume 4 soundtrack, I believe, Bumblebee came out, and with it, excuse me, with it, there was something of a uproar, let's say, because it's such a shippy song, something that wasn't as supported at the moment. And it came to the point where Casey stepped in and said the songs aren't canon. So on one hand, you have this kind of word of God saying one thing, but on the other hand, you have the songs themselves, which they're supported by canon themselves. So you kind of have to wonder, what do you guys think about that?
I'm going to be the one to say this. I try to steer clear of all these Twitter controversies. And of course, there was a major one a while back. I'm not going to mention it, but major one a while back. But whether a piece of music is canon with plot or not, it really doesn't matter. The music fits the scene so well. The same thing happens in movies. You have a piece of music that fits scenes so well. I could cite examples from all over Hollywood, but the thing of RWBY is with Casey Lee, Alex Abraham, Jeff Williams, and all the ensemble that goes around them, the music fits the show. And whether it's canon or not, it doesn't matter. It fits the show so well.
I mean, I do see where you're coming from there, but at the same time, RWBY is extremely unique in how involved the composers, especially Jeff Williams and Casey Lee Williams, are with the entire process of the show. Back in Volume 1 and the Volume 2 production diaries, it was stated, I believe, I could be remembering this incorrectly, but I believe it was explicitly stated that Jeff worked very, very closely with Monty at first to develop the songs for the trailers and for Volume 1. So, I mean, in a way, it doesn't matter if the songs are canon or not, but in that same way, they're so intrinsically linked to the show that argument is going to come up no matter what, just because of that connection that it has.
All right. Yeah, I think that might have been the reason that kind of came up with Bumblebee, is that connection of Jeff knowing a few things before everyone else does.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can have plot and have music, but when you marry both of them into the show, that just makes it amazing. And that's why I like the RWBY soundtrack so much. In fact, I have Volume 6 myself. Bought it in iTunes literally the day it came out.
Mhm.
And I played that thing over and over again because I love the music.
I think we've all done that.
Yeah, you're certainly not alone there.
Personally,
And-
I'd say, or go ahead.
In just a moment, that this being August, it has been exactly a year since I first got introduced to RWBY. A friend of mine, who in Discord is named Quicksilver, got me involved in watching RWBY, and instead of just falling in the rabbit hole, I literally dove in. So I really enjoy
Right.
the music. I enjoy everything about RWBY.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so I'd say on the subject of canon or not, I believe that they are. I believe this was just kind of a mess up, quote unquote, of Jeff jumping the gun and revealing something that caused something of an issue, and they had to do something about it.
Revealing what? Bumblebee doesn't exist.
It never existed. It was all a dream.
Right. Yep. Just gals being pals.
Sorry, I call bullshit on that.
I see no
It's-
proof of Bumblebee in the show whatsoever. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh
Right.
my god, don't. You're gonna get in so much shit for that.
What
Yeah.
beachhead have you stuck your head in?
It's fine.
Many.
Well, I mean, in a way, I kind of sit in the middle. I do think some songs are canon, but at the same time, I think it which song you're talking about. Like, oh, I a little while ago, I just to keep my own sanity, I decided to like try to sort the songs into like, different categories based on how canon they were or not.
Mhm.
So like the two main ones that I came up with were like songs or like more abstract songs. So like an example of a song that would be like more concrete is like Mirror Mirror or Boop or Caffeine or like Bad Luck Charm or Nevermore. Like it reflects either characters or events that have happened in the show. And then like
And that-
abstract songs are more like the volume openings or Die or Wings, where there's like a million different interpretations for these songs, or they represent like a larger concept in the series.
All right.
They're kind of not. It does really just depend on which song you're talking about.
So kind of not canon until they are. Like if it gets supported in the
sort of.
show. Yeah, if it gets
Well,
supported
yeah,
in the show.
I mean, like, nobody's going to argue that, like, the song Nevermore is from Yang and Blake's perspective, or Armed and Ready is a Yang song, or This Life Is Mine is a Weiss song. But, I mean, you can have a million, like, people can associate different things with different songs. I remember back when, what was it? I think it was Path to Isolation came out. It had the line, scars that cover wounds can't hide the self-inflicted pain.
Right,
and
that one.
Everybody jumped on that as like proof that Weiss was self-harming or something like that. And it's like,
I think that's a bit more
don't do
just
that.
misinterpretation than actual.
Like at the same time, for me, it's a really weird line where or are these things being misinterpreted, and how do we kind of separate those?
I think another song you have to put on that list is the Arcos, what's been a symbol of Arcos for a long time. That's Forever Fall.
Yes!
We've heard the
Oh
instrumentals
my God.
back in, Volume 3?
Oh, before that, Volume
Before
1
that
was
even,
introduced.
Forever Fall, but we've heard this the whole time, and then they finally put words to it.
Yeah,
And
that's an interesting one.
And I can tell you right now, after they put words to it, the tearjerker factor just went through the roof.
It really did. I'm not one that shows or gets too emotional about these kind of things, but I just remember thinking, Pura. Wolf, do you have anything on this?
I have to talk? Okay.
Yes, you do. You don't.
Say something.
You need to do more than just edit.
I mean, I thought I pissed everyone off enough earlier, but so this will probably be the episode I make people mad about. I'm going to call it now because I'm going to say I dislike it when people see the songs as canon. I dislike when people come from the standpoint of specifically, okay, I'm going to look at the song, I'm going to judge the song, and this is what I see in the song, and I'm going to apply that to the show. This is how it changes the character, this is how it changes the story, or this is how it changes these particular scenes. I dislike that form of discussion personally because, as we've already talked about a little bit here, the songs to some degree are up for some debate and interpretation will come from that. And I think what you should instead be doing, and this is how I like to look at things, this is just a me personally thing, others can disagree, feel free, but what I like to do if I do consider the songs in terms of character or story, I like to look at, okay, here's the lyrics to the song. What does it add to the show? What does it add to the character or the story based on the perspective of the show, right? Like, from the perspective of the show, what does this add to this character? From the perspective of the show, what does this add to this scene or this particular story element, instead of the other way around?
Oh, that's fair.
I think I can understand that. I still really like going into the songs and using with the context of the show to try and figure out kind of what is all going on in them.
And for some, the music and the scene actually just have a synergy together
Yes, they do.
that you can't have one without the other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right.
that's
We'll
what
get into
makes RWBY's fight scenes so notoriously hard to rescore or edit, because it's like, you can't take the music out of this without it being really, really weird.
That's
Salem's
right.
themes in her scenes are a prime example of this, in my opinion.
Yeah, we've been dancing around this a little bit, but let's get into how they use the music in RWBY to help tell the story. So right, like Wolf is saying, whenever Salem's on screen, it's always her theme, and she's very
Those strings, man.
yeah.
I love them. Her
She's very
theme
present.
is
You
good.
understand.
Like, I genuinely feel, right, for many of the, I think above many of the other characters, I think she's the one who's most intrinsically tied to her theme with those strings and that build up. I don't think any other character is as tied to their theme as Salem is. And I genuinely believe that if you take that theme away, her scenes aren't as strong. And it's,
Yeah.
to be clear, that's not a downer. That's not me downing the VA work or the
Right.
animation or anything. I just think that theme is that good for those scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Salem's definitely up there on that, making her presence known, doing that.
I mean, me personally, I'm oh my god, I'm very, very hesitant to use the word theme, just because of and I'm totally throwing Alex Abraham under the bus for this, but because of conversations I've had with him and how he views the music that both he and Jeff compose, it's like, from day one, it was kind of like, this isn't a theme for such and such character or such and such location, because there can be multiple different ones. So, I mean, weird for me to like hear other people talking about RWBY's music and use the word theme. It's not what it is, but at the same time, yes, that's what it is. But yeah, for sure. Like, definitely Salem has this really, really strong presence that is very, very much helped by her music. But another character that I think you can't really remove the character from their music is, well, I mean, like a half decent example. What was it? And then Helena loses her train of thought. In volume 5, there was a moment in Vault of the Spring Maiden.
Yeah.
Where, Ruby's woken up and she runs over and she checks on Weiss. And then she sees what's going on, and then she decides to go help Yang. And there's a reference to Red Like Roses there. And so I think that for Ruby's character, especially because we don't have anything else to associate with her, that theme, me using the word theme when I just, but that piece of music is very, very intrinsical to her character as well.
Right, yeah, Red Like Roses, it's very recognizable. A lot of scenes that she is in, I am able to recognize that and say, hey, that's pretty cool in there. isn't that also kind of interesting that our main protagonist and antagonist have their themes, air quotes, tied to them like that?
It is interesting to the point, and I don't think we should shy away from using the word themes because essentially, Red Like Roses, that's Ruby's theme. Mirror Mirror, that's Weiss's theme.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm just saying for
From
me, I'm weird. Don't don't think you have to stop for my sake. I'm just very strange.
yeah,
So are we.
Speak for yourself. I'm perfectly normal.
No, you're not. You're editing all this.
I am. So I can make you seem as weird as I want, and I can make me seem as perfectly normal as I want.
Damn. Right, that's Jami. You wanna keep? Do you have more there?
I have a little more, but as I was saying, the four main pieces with our main characters, Red Like Roses, Mirror Mirror, From Shadows, and I Burn, those are going to be woven throughout the series as long as you have the four main characters there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's, and yes, I would call it other themes. Say Her Name is one for Jen, the figure in the Lamp of Knowledge.
Yeah. I'm just trying
Because
to
it
kind of think
fits
back.
her so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Episode 3, The Lost Fable. That one was not only visually pretty great, it was also musically done well.
Oh god, The Lost Fable was so good.
It was a beautiful episode, and hearing Say Her Name and the other music interwoven through it. I like the one at the end of it, Fight to Atlas, where they're on the Airbus or airship heading to Atlas right after helping defeat that Leviathan in Argus. And the way Indomitable and Nevermore and a couple of other pieces of music were all woven into that on guitar and piano was beautiful. And then it gets to that rush where they look up and there's literally the Atlas Air Force parked over Atlas. Jeff and Alex Abraham literally put it together so well.
Yeah.
And music plays on the emotions of the viewer as well.
They do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So I think what I'd say one of my favorite little tidbits of telling the story with the music is the episode was Lost, correct? With Emerald and Mercury in Volume 6?
Yes!
You know what I'm already gonna say.
Getting to.
It's a really interesting scene. Not just from the character development, but one of the things that happens is when Emerald talks about Cinder, Cinder's theme plays, but it has been warped to be a bit more friendly, in almost like Emerald is using her semblance on it to make it that way, that Cinder isn't a bad person. I really think that gives us some insight into how Emerald sees Cinder.
It's not so much her semblance; it's just that's literally how she sees Cinder. She
has
this rosy, view of Cinder.
I guess I was being a little
sure, but
dramatic.
Yeah, sure. It's just that's how she views Cinder. She views her in that rosy way, and she, rightfully so, right? Because that's how she should view her. She saved her, as far as she's concerned, right?
And speaking though of that moment, there's another little bit in the music just after that when Mercury is really starting to push Emerald's buttons. And when she finally snaps, there's this bit in the music where it sounds like know how to describe it, like sort of like a timer counting down, like you would hear in one of those sort of action movies, just before the bomb goes off. And I thought that was so clever because it's literally part of the scene, because that's the moment where Emerald snaps, and it just works so well.
Huh. I didn't know that. I'll have to go and rewatch that.
Yeah, go give it another listen because it's really, really clever. Like, there's a lot of stuff in RWBY, and especially RWBY's music, that I just can't get over for how clever it is, and that is definitely one of them.
Yeah, just because that reminded me, the scene with Talk, how that counted down.
Yes.
It was actually, in fact, 60 seconds.
Yes, it was. It was 60 seconds exactly, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, Maria knew the weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, is what made that particular scene in the Grim Reaper so powerful. Was Talk took away one sense, but it sharpened the other senses Maria had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, although she didn't know exactly where in front of her Talk was, Maria knew enough that where her part of her weapon was, that she could just flip a switch, it'll come to her, but it would go through Talk at the same time and take her out. But the music in that scene was powerful, and it conveyed the message throughout, or conveyed the scene throughout. Not really message, but scene.
Right. Yeah, it does a really good job of that.
Yeah. Speaking of other themes that we like, I'll bring up, since we talked about Red Like Roses for RWBY previously, and now we've kind of moved into Maria a bit, I'll bring up, I love the rendition they did of Red Like Roses with I think that's like woodland chimes, and just the acoustics with Red Like Roses with Red Like Roses with Maria and RWBY in the garden talking. That's probably my personal favorite rendition of Red Like Roses so far.
Yeah.
Silver Eyes was just honestly such a gorgeous piece.
Yeah. By the way, for those of you keeping score, that's track 24 on the album.
Do you have it up in front of you, Jami?
I have it in my iPhone. I have it in my iTunes, and I love it.
That's actually on there. Okay, I need to definitely buy that then. I didn't know that if that was on there or not.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
A lot. There was a lot on the soundtrack this year.
Yeah. iTunes, Google Play, get that album.
Yep, go
buy it. I paid $9.99.
Let's shill the soundtrack really quick. Everybody go buy it.
You'll love it. Believe me, best investment you'll ever make.
Sorry. We talked a few times about the music that plays during the battles. And one of the things that I also kind of thought was really cool is in how fights between two different characters, you'll have their themes also battling it out.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember Helena, you had I think you may have posted a little while ago. Wasn't that one about Cinder and Pyrrha?
Yeah, so that one was about the end of the beginning for Volume 3, and it was the music that accompanied the fight in Beacon Tower where it was Cinder and Pyrrha. And I have I've been part of the RWBY fandom since just before Volume 3. So Volume 3 was my real introduction to the week-by-week nature of the show. And I remember just being absolutely blown away by both the finale and the music that was used in it, and the attention to detail that was given to the music for that fight. Like, if you just listen to the music just for the fight, and like don't watch the episode. You can still follow along with like both the hits and like who's in the fight, who's on top, who's defending, who's attacking, and it's just so good. Like
Okay, Cinder versus Spear. The last time I've heard those two songs was back in. I'm trying to think of the volume here because it's been a while since I've seen it.
Volume 3.
Yeah.
Volume 3, yep. Volume 3, close to the end. And I know it's that scene just before Ruby runs up the side of the building with the glyphs going up with her. But Cinder and Pyrrha fighting, it was just awesome score, awesome scene. I like the way they did it in that time. But the scene and the music, they fit, they matched, and it was like we've said about this one, every volume that I've seen so far, that Alex Abraham, Jeff, and Casey Lee, all of them have a kind of synergy with the production team, and that's how you get good music, is when you have that synergy with production.
Yeah, it's consistently been one of the best parts to RWBY. So a bit more of a recent one is Blake and Yang versus Adam. That one was really cool to hear Lion Eyes battle it out with the whole slew of Blake and Yang songs.
Oh, wow.
No wonder he lost. He only had the one.
The beginning of that was when Yang saw Blake in the cafeteria and Adam standing over her at the Battle of Beacon.
Yeah.
I don't call it the fall of Beacon because Beacon will rise again someday.
Yeah.
But the Battle at Beacon, Adam standing over Blake, he's about to deal the killing blow. And he tells her, I'm going to destroy everything you've ever loved. And then he feels Yang's presence and he says, starting with her. And
right.
There we go.
Get some activity there to keep myself from going AFK.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yep, we're fine.
But you have the moment where Blake and Yang essentially retreat, heal up from the physical wounds they've got, bide their time until that second meeting in Argus.
Okay.
And I tell you what, if I know it wasn't soul crushing, but Bumblebee the motorcycle hitting Adam, that
Rip Bumblebee.
Yeah.
You will be forever remembered, you awesome bike.
Yeah, but I was online today and I was looking at these different tweets and pictures and memes and whatnot. They had Adam labeled as Taradana, and the bike Bumblebee.
Yep, a lot of salty in that scene.
Love it.
A lot of salty.
When I first saw Bumblebee hit Adam, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that was one of the coolest moments.
That's how you make an entrance.
I'm trying to think. I don't think that there's been a cooler entrance in RWBY, in my opinion.
No, I think Yang stole that one.
Yang got it, hands down.
Wow.
Okay, do you have one, Wolf, or
one being what?
Oh, just anything.
I mean, if you want to go with still some of the background music we hear throughout the show, I'll definitely give a shout out to Winter from the little bit we've heard from her, and I hope we get more of this. I love the contrast, right, where you have her entrance and we first see her. It's very bombastic, kind of almost empire-ish inspired, right? And then you switch up with that with the softer side of it all. With when she's with Weiss and speaking with Weiss, you have that more softer music play. Like I love that, and I got to give that a shout out. So
Yeah,
winter stuff
yeah.
is really good, and just more of those string instruments for Burnswick Farms.
Oh,
Like
wow.
all of that is
Ooh,
just really
did
good.
you know?
Mhm.
Helena dispensing her wisdom. Did you know that Winter's sort of leitmotif or theme, whatever you want to call it, actually a inversion of Mirror Mirror?
Huh. That's neat.
Yes, that's isn't that true with a bunch of the family members of the girls?
Yeah.
Crow's theme is kind of a depressed Red Like Roses, and Raven has a like
Vin
one
has a
note.
variation on I Burn.
Right. I gotta say that's a really cool way of doing that. There's
For
not one
sure.
for Blake, is there?
Not that I
From
honestly,
Shadows is hers.
Right.
yeah, From Shadows is hers, but this problem when I listened to the track Protecting Each Other the first time, I thought that there's this big bombastic moment where Lionized comes back in when they're at the waterfall, and I thought the first time I listened to it that it was the song This Time, which was Volume 5's end credits song. So I'm like, I'm tempted to say that the two melodies are similar, and that's really neat, but I don't want to say for sure.
All right. Yeah, I guess that's kind of fair because yeah, with Blake you have Yang, that's got her own stuff. Adam, that's what you just said, and Sun kind of, but I don't think that's his. And then there's Gira and Callie that are kind of too small, I'd say, for that.
Yeah. They don't really have any music associated with them, which is it's kind of a shame, but at the same time I get it because they aren't a small part of the menagerie sort of arc, but compared to Blake and Sun's role in it, they are kind of.
Right. That makes sense. I suppose another thing is that's cool is this isn't always they don't always just use the themes for these big dramatic fights and everything. For instance, they'll do it on some small stuff whenever characters are on screen. One of my favorites is within the Emerald Forest with Weiss and Ruby when they first kind of meet and bicker. You'll have Red Like Roses and Mirror Mirror fighting it out.
Yes, indeed. That is, yeah, definitely one of my favorite musical moments from the show.
All right. We've actually gone through a lot of the non-lyrical stuff. Is there anything more on those actually?
God, don't ask me. I'll talk about them for like 2 full hours. We'll be here forever.
Well, I have to say that our creation is what I think is actually about as close to a theme to the Brother Gods as you can get in the show, because Remnant is their creation.
Oh,
And
yes. I don't quite remember that one.
Yeah, so it was actually introduced way back in volume 4 when during chapter 8, a much needed talk, when Crow was expositioning at the kids about the whole sort of fable of the gods, like the brother gods. Alex introduced that theme, and then he brought it back for his compositions in the Lost Fable. That is definitely a solid theme for their gods.
Okay, I think I'm starting to remember it.
Yeah, it's this big sort of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think you would have to include a delicate balance as well, because they were trying to communicate to Salem, when they made her
Mhm.
immortal, that she would be that way until she realized the balance between life and death.
Yeah.
Okay.
In sticking with the Lost Fable, one of one of my many favorite pieces from the show, just in the sense of motifs and themes, is the piece that was composed to signify the relics. It was introduced in the last episode of Volume 5 when Yang went into the vault, and it kind of has made some reappearances here and there. In Volume 6, there was a small one when Ozpin was first explaining what the relic could do, and then there was this big version of it in the Lost Fable when the God of Light was first presenting Ozma with the 4 relics. And I just love the bells. It sounds so nice.
I have to agree right there.
Uh-huh.
And that pause was me trying to hold it together.
Don't worry.
Yeah. I'll throw something in here. We've talked a lot about what we like. Is there anything particular that stands out as something that you didn't gel as well with, or that you disliked a little bit more, that you didn't like as much as compared to other stuff, at least with the non-lyrical stuff, with the backing tracks?
I think that's kind of a hard one because
That's why
those
he's
last 2
asking,
tracks.
Jelo.
Yes, those last 2 tracks. To be honest, I can't quite remember, and I think that's more often what will happen with me if I don't really like the music in a scene. I don't think there's anything that I find quite offensive.
That's fair.
Yeah. The only problem I've ever really had, and I made a post about this in the subreddit last year when the soundtrack for Volume 5 came out. The only real problem I've ever had with some of RWBY's music is, 1, how much of it is left out, and 2, how Volume 5's score for the finale was edited. Because problem with the finale itself, and I don't want to get into that, but just the inability that was presented in the music to carry the melodies over. Like you have one melody start and then suddenly stop and another one start. And for me, that it upset me. It was just a little bit disappointing that the time wasn't given for these pieces to be as full and as impressive as they could have been, and as impressive as I know that Jeff and Alex can do. Generally, overall, unfortunately, Volume 5 is my least favorite soundtrack. Oh no, yes, there was one piece. Sorry, I am rambling a little bit, but there was one track in Volume 5 that I can say that I just definitively did not like. And it was in Chapter 4, Lighting the Fire, when the kids are training in the backyard of the house in Mistral.
Okay.
And they start explaining semblances. And there is this absolutely piece of music, this really popsy piano piece of music that starts playing that sounds like it should have come from an after-school special.
Yeah.
I'm just like, no. And oh man, I'm good.
I'm enjoying this discussion so much. I'm looking at the listing of it, and I know it's not a complete listing in here because I'm looking at Volume 6 and it only has all the way down to the Path to Isolation and then none of the other stuff afterward.
Right.
But I'm going to have to look at the complete listings on iTunes with Volume 5 and 4 and so on to really, try to find the pieces that I've heard in these episodes before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I'm saying. With the music, it's more just kind of a forget it kind of deal.
Yeah. that tends to be the case with incidental music, but in the case of RWBY, I really, really wish it wasn't, because, like, I do understand, like, the background music is not nearly as bombastic as the soundtracks that Jeff and Casey put together. But they're so wonderful. And we do have this tendency to forget about music in movies or TV shows unless it's really, really attention grabbing. But it's really well worth giving a listen to, even if you think you won't enjoy it. I guarantee there's something in the score that will catch your attention that you'll like. I don't know. Problem or something that's directly linked to RWBY in particular. I think it's something that is just happens, but I really wish for RWBY that it didn't. I wish more people knew about how good the score is and kind of was able to appreciate the work that goes into it.
Well, let me ask you this. I've always operated from this kind of chain of this realm of thought of music sets in this very precarious position, right, where it has to, like, music, I guess you would say, is the support of any particular scene, right? Like, it has to be able to support the scene, but it can never overpower the scene, right? And so it sets in this weird position of you want it to be memorable, but not so memorable that it overtakes everything else and it's the only thing you can remember.
Well, like, I mean, yeah.
Like every other support, it's always forgotten.
You should have picked Mercy.
Is that something
somebody will get that reference?
Is that something you would agree with, though, or disagree with, or?
I'd say that yes, a lot of the time, the score will kind of fall to the wayside compared to the lyrical stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I wish that wasn't the case, but it does tend to happen. I'm the absolute exception in my unwavering adoration of the score, so.
Don't get me wrong, I really like it and enjoy seeing it. It's just, I think, in learning about it, and all the little tidbits that I've picked up here and there, which a lot of them come from you, actually. But it's just, I think it's something that a lot of people don't go out of their way to really look for.
Yeah. And no, I totally understand why.
I think I may be joining you, Helena, in that the work that they've presented in all 6 volumes, and just based on the album I have, which is volume 6. I mean, it's excellent work, and they've really outdone themselves. They got really world-class talent right there working with them at Rooster Teeth. And like I said, that synergy shows in the music and the production of RWBY. And when you put both of them together, I mean, it's literally out of the park with me. And that's been my thought since I literally dived into the rabbit hole a year ago this month. So,
all right. So I know we just talked about how the score needs a little bit more attention, but unless we have anything on that, do we want to move on to the lyrical bits so that other people can actually follow?
Oh, yes.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I just can't help but feel that there's going to be a number of people looking things up here.
Oh no, I'm just gonna sit here for the next 3 hours and ramble on about the score, and you guys have to listen to me. You guys know I would too.
Yes, I know.
I would enjoy every minute of it.
Exactly.
Thank you, Jami.
Right, so with the lyrical music, are there any favorites that really stand out to you guys?
Oh man.
I know that's a hard one.
I will defend Indomitable. It seemed like it got a rough start or a rough
yes
hand for this
It got a
volume.
rough rap because people were expecting it to be a RWBY song, and it wasn't.
I think
Yeah.
it was a RWBY song, though.
And
I genuinely feel like it was a RWBY song, right? Like, I know it's... I think I would be willing to bet, right, that if you asked a lot of people what was their big issue with it, I think many of them would probably go with the whole faith and belief thing, right? And because people hear like faith and belief and they go, and which I understand why they go, I get that completely. But I do think that had a very important part to play with RWBY and it being a RWBY song, right? In the fact that faith and belief is kind of at that point all the characters had to go off of, right? The faith in their own abilities and strength, and the belief that they could do that, and that what they were doing wouldn't just amount to prolonging the inevitable, right? At that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think in that regard, it is a RWBY song, but it's also a tribute to Monty.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like that's kind of glaring in your face,
Yeah.
kind of
Like
obvious.
you can't deny that part. You can look at it and say, well, I think it's a RWBY song because of this, this, or this, but it's definitely a tribute to Monty.
It is.
And I have this thought that Indomitable is both a tribute to Monty and a RWBY song, especially the part "There's a light that shines, and its power is mine."
Right. Is
Because you're remembering Monty, and I think a lot of Monty goes through, Ren in the voice because he used to voice Ren. I think also in the personality of RWBY. I mean, this program is Monty's creation. We can't say was because it's still Monty's dream, the vision. And Indomitable also paints that light coming from RWBY. And then the rest of that chorus, though our bodies are weak and breakable. Wow. Knew that was going to happen.
I was gonna say, are you okay? Do you need a hug?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Indomitable is just, it's one of those songs that's like, oh god, I'm listening to it and I'm really trying hard not to cry, but it,
Don't bother trying not to cry. Because you get a lot of emotion with it, the pride, the sadness of loss, but the determination to go on.
Right. That's a lot of what
the spirit is indomitable.
Is definitely the determination in there.
Yeah. I mentioned it when it came out, I think Reddit and on one of the videos on YouTube, but if Cold was a song mourning Monty's loss, then Indomitable is certainly a song celebrating his life.
That's right.
It is. And also throwing in "Let's Just Live in There" real quick as a kind of handling that loss.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Indomitable is pretty great.
And speaking of the other loss, the one in the RWBY universe, I think the way they did Forever Fall.
All right.
And the scene with Pyrrha. I know they referred to her as the unknown woman at the statue.
The red-haired woman, but yes.
Yeah, the red-haired woman. I stand corrected, thank you. But I said from literally the time I saw it, I said, that's Pyrrha's mother. You can't tell me otherwise because she had a lot of the features. a little bit older, pair of glasses, but a lot of the features of our Spartan.
That does seem to be the current theory, and
And
Yeah.
you
we're not
saw the
considering-
look, and you saw the look in Sean's face, like, huh? Who? It's
John
like he
beat
had
the
the look on
entire
his face.
fandom in that
Who
scene.
are you?
Yeah, I think I kind of like
Mhm.
acknowledging that is Kira's mother does add a lot to the scene, even if Rooster Teeth left it ambiguous.
Yeah, I think that's the best we'll get, especially since we're most likely not going to go back to Argus. I
No.
don't think she's going to move.
I'm one to say never because we don't know what's in the writing room at Austin, Texas right now. And who knows? One of them may be listening to this podcast and be like, there's
Be
an
like-
idea.
You're like, hey, Karubi, if you're listening to this podcast, we love you guys.
Yeah, we love you.
I
And
feel for
I've
you.
even said as much on Twitter.
Listen to us be terrible. I feel for you.
Yes.
Hey, we have fun doing this, so.
We do.
But oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just said we have fun doing this.
All right. So Forever Fall is something that I find rather interesting because right as it came out, I had thought it had been pure singing, but someone else on the Discord, CID, thought it was John, and that got me to look at it in this kind of interesting way and looking at it from both perspectives to kind of see where it is. In TLDR, I had made a post about this, is that from Kira's perspective, it recalls her feelings for Jean and regrets not acting on them, but cherishes how he was her friend. And from Jean's perspective, he regrets not having a chance with Kira that way, but remembers what she had done for him and everyone else, and is now determined to follow her example, which we had seen at the end of that episode with the statue. I just thought it was it's really cool how you could get those two different perspectives there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. A small confession to make. I have yet to listen to Forever Fall.
You're
Why is
not
that?
alone. You're not alone at all. I haven't either.
Why is that,
I-
friends?
I don't know. Like, I listened to almost everything in the Volume 6 soundtrack originally, but I don't know why I skipped over it. But Forever Fall, and then I listened to. There was one other one. Lion Eyes and Forever Fall, I just didn't get around to listening to, and I don't know why. But it's on the list.
Well,
This is heresy. Get out of my podcast.
all right.
Okay. Leaves.
Uh,
I mean, don't feel too bad. Arcos is a terrible
I-
ship also.
Rude.
Just starting all,
All
the
the good
fires, aren't we?
takes. Yeah, I mean that's what you do.
Batch and
That's
a
why you. That's
bucket
why
of
I'm on the
gasoline
show.
and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
well, then this may cause the match to be struck. I
Alright.
did at first skip Lion Eyes. I just saw Adam as this overbearing psychopath obsessed with one person so much that they would go to the ends of the planet to make them miserable. And he wasn't satisfied until the end.
Alright. I can
So
see
that's
that.
why I skipped over Lion Eyes at first.
Mhm.
But then I got to looking at the lyrics and listening to it on YouTube because there's some people that put together these videos with the music and put the lyrics on the screen. And I think it's a good service to
yes, there are some people that do that, such as our very own Helena, which goes
Yeah.
by Sarah Tolniger, however you spell that on
Oh.
YouTube.
Well done on butchering my last name.
You're welcome.
Great shill. You're doing so
Okay,
well.
but we are
fact,
going
it's-
to shill YouTube channels, then I've got to give a
Okay.
shout out to Flynt of RWBY, who does the
Mhm.
best lyric videos for RWBY. He gets his lyrics always
Well-
directly from Jeff Williams himself, and he does an amazing job on the lyric videos.
Well,
Right,
Helena,
and I'll do
you're-
one last shill before letting you go on, Jamie. There's also Changyuraptor, who does the leitmotifs.
Yes. Definitely go check out Changyuraptor, please.
Mhm.
So
Now-
go ahead, Jamie.
Now, Helena, the version of Indomitable that you have, I like the
Yeah.
artwork.
Oh,
yeah.
thank you. Thank you very much. That took me 5 hours. On I think it was whatever morning before the 28th. And I was up until like 6 in the morning because I was
Yeah.
waiting for the soundtrack, and I was just
Yeah.
like, "Welp, I'm gonna post Indomitable anyways. Might as well do this myself."
But the artwork with Ruby reaching up for that little butterfly. Perfect.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
That one, yes.
And the quote at the beginning, if I'm not mistaken, is that one of Monty's quotes?
Mhm.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that's what had inspired Jeff to make the song.
Yeah. And that was where
Love
he
it.
first said that I believe the human spirit is indomitable. Jami,
Oh my
do you
God.
need a hug? I swear. Where's you sniffling?
Mhm.
Can we
Yeah,
get some
trying
hugs
to
in
fight
chat?
it. Oh, thank you.
Alright, so do we have a few more of the favorite lyrics? Volume
Well,
6
I mean,
is...
if we're
so-
talking about, we're still talking about favorite lyrical music, yeah?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Miracle. I gotta say, Miracle.
Yes.
A
For
great
sure,
one.
for sure.
Alright, yeah. That one
But
took such an interesting turn at the end.
dude, it was freaking dark.
I didn't like that as much. I liked the first half of Miracle. I really enjoyed. The latter half, I just didn't. It didn't work for me. It didn't click as well for me. I feel it's not
It's fair.
bad. It just didn't click as well for me.
Yeah, it did make a very sort of sudden heel turn in both the, not really the tone, because the entire piece is this kind of despairing, sort of downtrodden
True.
piece of music, but it did get very dark.
Yeah, I think that's the darkest that they've gone with the music, right?
I mean, other than maybe When It Falls from Volume 3.
Or actually maybe Divide, maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of those.
Divide, die,
All things
sacrifice.
must die. Maybe.
Never mind.
So much death.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Never mind what I said.
I've got to go back 2 volumes for one of my favorite pieces and bring up This Life Is Mine, because that is just top tier RWBY music.
Yes.
Nothing has beaten that for me. Like, hot damn.
Yes, it's not my favorite, but when combined with the Weiss quartet, I think that Weiss has the best set of music.
Yes, for sure.
Hands down.
The girl has 5 songs now. Like, holy
Oh.
crap. And I bet you anything we're going to get at least one more in Atlas.
Yeah, that's not even a bet. That's just a guarantee.
Oh, yes.
We just get
That is a
nothing.
guarantee.
It's all Blake focused in Volume 7. For just no reason. Just that's what they decide to do. Nothing for Weiss. Nothing for Winter. Just all focused on Blake now.
Oh my god.
They're going hard on that Faunus plot.
I beg
We
to
get
differ
another
because I
Adams
heard
song,
on
too.
Twitter. Oh,
Just
please,
because.
let's not go there.
Yes, please let's not.
I
Yeah.
heard
Go on.
or I read on Twitter, and there was a video clip that went with it that we will be hearing more about Nora's origins
Yes,
and her
Yes.
background. So
give me
you
Nora.
may catch Nora getting at least one more song besides Boop.
Y'all, I forgot to mention her leitmotif as like the
Yeah.
best in the entire show.
Is it?
Oh my
Hers
god.
is so upbeat. I mean, Boop is like on my favorite playlist on YouTube.
Mhm.
No,
Jamie
like
Summers, by the way.
like Nora has an actual leitmotif, like a theme for her that it's not Boop.
Oh,
It's I'm pretty sure Alex did it himself or Jeff did, either whichever did it, but it's for the first time in Volume 1, Chapter 8, when Nora does her whole smash on the Deathstalker and knocks Blake backward. It's based off of I think it's Richard Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries.
oh, wow.
It is so good. Oh my god.
Now I gotta find that episode and watch it again.
I'm just gonna go
I'll
straight
send
to
you.
Chang.
I'll post the theme for you later, because oh my
Thank
god.
you. Oh, and this deserves a friend request. Big time.
Yeah, but
Sorry for that little tangent. Go ahead.
yeah, Nora, I would be way up to see a song for her, especially a solo song. Not that I don't like Ren, but I feel that the two of them could stand to be separated and support others from time to time. But that's a little something different. Speaking of Atlas, if we don't have anything else, one of my favorites has always been Smile. This could be because Ilya is one of my favorites, but
Oh.
Ilya's best girl. Jeremy Lee for life.
yes, she did great. But with Smile, it's really interesting. I feel in part because you're actually getting the people singing are dead and don't even have a name, but it gives that much context to Ilya's early life. I also kind of like how it starts out being very happy-ish, then it just goes leave them to bleed and changes drastically. I love that change. I suppose that goes for a lot of the ways that the songs, how they do that drastic change that Jeff does.
He'll pull these sort of 180 heel turns in his songs, and just like you think it starts out as something, and then it just turns into something completely different.
Right off the top of my head, Lionize does it. This Life Is Mine does it. Smile does it, like I said.
Miracle kind of does it.
Right.
Oh, I started to tap on my iPhone to get it to come back on, and it started playing Mistral Central Station. Okay, personal confession. I'm a rail fan, and I've had videos and stuff on YouTube under my little small business YouTube channel. But I filmed in like southern Georgia, middle Georgia, some of it in Alabama, and other areas. But Mistral Central Station, because I'm a rail fan, I love that song because when they show the inside of the station, and it's a non-lyrical, by the way, but
right.
they ever put lyrics to it, I'm there. But seeing that or hearing that song when it first came on in the first episode of Volume 6,
I wouldn't have expected that one. That's
I was so overjoyed because the detail that they animated this depot, the ticket counters, the gift center, the lobby, I mean, they nailed it. It was like they went to a station and watched how it went, and then went right back to the computers and animated it.
Yeah, I think that was the first time they were using their new crowd designing software as well. much helped make the Mistral
Mhm.
Central Station feel alive.
Yeah. And now that I'm thinking about it, I do think that the music in the background really supported how just kind of upbeat it was.
Yeah, I tell you, I got like 3 screens going, my iPhone and 2 monitors on my desktop. I'm looking up information, so and just enjoying myself too. So far this has been a great program. And I'm glad to be a part of it tonight.
Good to hear it. Getting a little bit back on track. How about this? A lot of people will sometimes rate which of their favorite songs. So how about let's do a top 3 from everyone if you're all okay with that and can pick top 3.
Top
Man.
3 in overall, or
Top
top 3
3?
lyrical, or top 3 non-lyrical?
Let's do lyrical.
Okay, that narrows it down a little bit, at least, anyways.
Uh-huh. For myself, I think number 3 would be This Life Is Mine. That one is still really up there. Behind that is Smile for reasons I've stated before.
Mhm.
But I think what I'm really liking nowadays is actually Rising, the Volume 6 opening.
Mm.
Yeah, Rising, I think a lot of people very much enjoy some of the earlier openings and find them to be some of their favorites, but for some reason, Rising just really does it for me. Especially with that part in the middle, the Shattering the Night, Armored in Splendor, that little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My top 3 lyrical.
I apologize for my dog.
Oh,
Sorry, he just flopped his ears really loudly, so
ah,
you'll probably get that in there.
give him a good petting for me, will you?
I will.
I'm a dog lover myself, but anyway, we digress.
Yes.
My top 3 lyrical, Red Like Roses, and I'll have to do parts 1 and part 2 together.
That's fair. Part 1 was light.
You vanilla person.
Number 2, Forever Fall. Now that they've added lyrics to it,
Mm.
It's beautiful.
and number 3, Rising.
All right.
Oh no, have I got to pick now?
Yes.
Discernible like top 3 order because these are completely interchangeable. My
That's
top
fine.
3 have to be from Volume 1. I've always really loved that first end credit song. It helped me through somewhat of a difficult time when I first heard it. So it's stuck with me ever since. Home from Volume 4.
Mm.
I definitely have songs myself that help me through times.
Yeah. Then Home from Volume 4. Because it was really, really nice. And that is probably the one song on the RWBY soundtrack that will never fail to make me cry. And then my third one has to be This Life Is Mine. It is that sort of rocking, awesome ballad turned rock song. That's just like, oh my yes.
My turn, I guess. So
Yep.
I'll go with, first off, Let's Just Live. That one, it just kind of works for me as far as openings go. Like, that's still, Rising is definitely very, very close to taking its spot. Like, very close to taking its spot. But Let's Just Live still just seals it for me.
Yeah, I put that one at like 4 or 5.
Yeah. After that, I'm going to go way back to Volume 1, Volume 2 and say, I think it's Dream Come True, one of the old Pyrrha and Jean songs. It's either that or Shine.
Yeah.
I love the jazz feel to those. I love that jazz. And
I personally thought it was a little disco, but
jazz, disco. It kind of takes a bit from both, but yeah, you're right. It probably a bit more disco. It has been a little bit since I've listened to the two of them, but between the two of those, they'll definitely sit high up on that list for me. And then after that, I would say, Bad Luck Charm, maybe.
Ooh.
I think that one sits up there as one that I also really enjoy. I love how that one changes during the middle of it. How it starts off, and then how you get into the more rock-oriented portion of it. I just love how that change happens. Really enjoy that one.
All right. Well, is there any other pressing things we really want to go over?
No, I think I'm good on my end.
One of the things I've always wondered about before reading the listings of the song titles in iTunes is, which song was it that Ruby and Yang were in the airship and they were on their way to Beacon, and when they get there, it has that triumphant arrival.
I just don't.
That's at the end of Volume 1, Chapter 1, Ruby Rose, and then at the start of Volume 2, Chapter 2, The Shining Beacon.
Yes. I've always wondered what the name of that song was. And
isn't it Beacon's theme?
Yeah, I think part of it is Beacon's theme, yeah. As far as I can remember.
Other than that.
Really quick though. Speaking of track titles, because I noticed this before, Jami, when you mentioned it, so bad because I was told this by Alex. There is a typo in the Volume 6 soundtrack track titles.
Nice.
The last track in the score is labeled on the official album as Fight to Atlas. It is supposed to be Flight to Atlas.
Oh my gosh.
Labeled that everywhere else except for on the official album.
Aww.
Oh my gosh.
And I feel so bad for him because of that. It's like, no.
Are you sure you feel that bad? Because you're putting it out now.
Oh no, I feel horrible, but I do think people should know because it doesn't really make sense.
All right, fair.
Okay, now we know. Flight to Atlas is what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
That does make some more sense.
Yes.
I'm sure iTunes will fix it. And
oh no, I don't think they will.
They need to.
They'll just be part of the history of the show.
You just get all the misinterpretations now.
Oh yeah.
That makes it so much better. People arguing, is it flight or is it fight? We'll never know. Except here, you have to listen to the show now. That's how you find out. You've listened to our show.
Very educational.
Yes.
I'm just full of knowledge.
Hey, Wolf, do you have anything else?
No, I think I'm good. Yeah, I would say I'm good. There's not too much I can add, to be honest with you. I'm not a huge musical person. I can talk a bit, though. I can pretend to talk a bit anyways.
All right. Well, in that case, we will wrap this up. So from us, this has been the Cacawphony Crow's Nest podcast. The Crow's Nest is a server on Discord, which we will link below. We got, we're mainly RWBY focused with some writing in there, as well as a few miscellaneous things. So any of that interests you, come on down. As well as a little bit of shilling. There's Helena's channel, Sarah T, as well as Chang and Flynt.
These will be linked down below too.
Yes, thank you. All right. And with that, I've been Jelo.
I'm Jami.
I'm your local score connoisseur, Helena.
And I was Wolf.